Okay, well, why don't we get started now? Hopefully people will filter in soon as we go, but we'll just get going and get the show going. My name is Rich Binsaka. I am the editor-in-chief of ProBuilder Magazine and ProBuilder Media. We have both a print magazine, a digital magazine, obviously a website, and several social channels. And then we also have what we call Horizon TV, which is our broadcast channel. I'm glad to be here with you and to talk to you about this exciting topic. Today, we're going to be discussing selling digitally in an uncertain market. Obviously, we are in an uncertain time, although I would say that in certain markets, things haven't necessarily gone back to normal, but they have eased a bit in terms of builders being able to reach out, sell, attract prospects, and get people through their homes and through the sales process. And so we're going to be talking about some technologies and solutions that builders are using, talk about some trends, talk about some challenges with our guests. So I want to now introduce you to our panel. We have Josh Hersley, who is a sales manager at Perfection Builders in Wichita, Kansas. Welcome, Josh.
Hi.
Good to have you here. We also have Dan Moy, who is the sales manager and principal broker at Cole West Homes in Washington, Utah. Welcome.
Thanks. Glad to be here.
And then last but not least, we have Jason Whitesides, who is the CEO of NoviHome. Welcome, Jason.
Hi, good to be here.
Great to have you all here. Before we get started, I'm going to ask each of you to kind of give us a brief overview of your company. So Dan, why don't we start with you? Just tell us a little bit about Cole West Homes and what you do there.
Okay. Cole West is located in St. George, Utah. It's a very southwest corner of the state, kind of closer to Las Vegas. We're kind of a resort town here, so we build a lot of vacation homes. Also, it's a warm weather city, so we build some 55 plus communities as well. We typically build around 200 homes a year, and we'll be exceeding that this year for sure. But that's part of the reason I'm here, I think.
Okay, great. Josh, tell us a little bit about Perfection Builders.
Perfection Builders is headquartered in Wichita, Kansas. We build in Louisville, Kentucky also, and several places throughout the state of Kansas. We are also a 55 plus builder. The lifestyle leads us. That is typically how we build our communities: zero step, private courtyards, and low maintenance living. We build, we'll be over 150 this year and hopefully a lot more next year.
Okay, great. And Jason, tell us about your involvement with Novi and how you work with builders and a little bit about the technology.
Sure. From a quick 30,000 foot view, I've been in the technology game for a little over 2 decades now. We started a real estate marketing company almost 20 years ago under the name Fusion Media. That transitioned into some medical software as well, so we kind of had an offshoot, and then we came back into the real estate market when we saw an opportunity after coming out of 2007, 2008, 2009. We re-entered under the name NoviHome. The concept is very, very simple. We wanted to create a super easy to use, friendly app-based tool that builders could use to create an unbelievable buying process for their buyers, creating the best buyer experience possible while also providing the builder with unmatched data that they could see what the buyers wanted to see and what the buyers wanted to buy. And the results have been absolutely fantastic. We have over 100 builders that we currently work with. We bring on average, probably 10 to 12 a month at this point. We've partnered with some lenders. We've partnered with some security companies. It's been a really fun ride. And Dan and Josh have been kind enough to hop on the webinar. They're 2 of our clients, and they both had a lot of success with it. But yeah, that's a little bit about NoviHome from a very high view.
That's great. Thank you. I appreciate that. All right, so let's talk about a little bit about where we've been in the last 6 months and kind of how you, Dan and Josh specifically, have kind of weathered that in your businesses. So Dan, I'll start with you, and Josh, I'll ask you the same question. But how has the pandemic affected, specifically your sales traffic and your sales strategy overall? Maybe starting with when, we had the stay-at-home orders back in late March and April, how did that kind of immediately have an impact on your business there?
Well, I can say from our experience here, which was probably similar across the country, everything kind of shut down. It was anticipated that it would just be kind of temporary, maybe a couple of weeks of shutdown. So we kept operating as a home builder. They were shutting down schools and restaurants, those kind of things. But home building for us didn't slow. We were working on our backlog as usual, but people just stopped coming into the model home, and that was pretty much tail end of February through March. It was like that, and of course, many of us who went through the bursting bubble in 2007 thought, man, is this happening again? Are we having another major shift? But since none of this was really caused by the real estate industry, there was some confidence that, hey, this is just temporary. We're gonna get through it. Buyers are gonna come back and venture out to the model homes, which of course turned around big time in April for us. And being a resort town, kind of a smaller town, people were kind of sick of being quarantined up in the city and wanted to get out of there and come to some warm weather here in St. George. And so we started to see a flood of interest from people that were just getting out of town. They weren't working or going to school, and so they had the opportunity to come shop for homes. I think there was still a lot of apprehension on the part of buyers to commit. But as everybody started to read the tea leaves and look at interest rates and lack of inventory, I think that created some type of feeding frenzy, which we're still experiencing right now. In the spring, we typically is our busiest time of year here. And it was slow in that March time period, but then all of a sudden picked up. And summer, because it gets so hot, usually slows down for us, but it's every month since April, we've almost doubled our sales. And so it's been, we're basically out of inventory. We sold out of 3 communities. And I'm sure everybody else across the country is now experiencing a lot of the same interesting turn in the market. But that's been our experience in a nutshell.
Okay, well, thanks for that. And Josh, how did the pandemic affect your business, specifically sales traffic and the ability to kind of close sales?
Well, our business being 55 plus, those were the people that were being told to stay home and don't come out, hide in place or shelter in place, whatever you want to call it. And so it was dramatic for our business. That's where I'm so glad we had signed up for NoviHome, and we had launched it in January, about the 26th of January. So it was perfect timing, and we had started, everybody that was coming in, and the end of January, the 1st of February, we're loading them on there, and we loaded all of our prospects onto it. And that has helped us, and it maintained, and the ability to be able to see that they're still shopping. That was fantastic for us, because it helped us weather that storm, and it helped our people know that, people are still out looking and people are still interested. And I could pretty much echo Dan's comments on how the process went. We were deemed essential in Kansas, so we were able to continue to build. And in, I don't know if you want to call it foresight or whatnot, but we took that chance and we became greedy, and we started putting specs in the ground. So we're going to have, our inventory is gaining, and we're still selling a lot of it, but we've got inventory coming up right behind it. So we were kind of ahead of the game. We were greedy when others are fearful when others are greedy. So that was our motto for that deal. So that's where we're at today. Okay, great. Thank you. And I'm glad to hear that both of you are more than busy, even busier, as you mentioned, Dan, specifically in terms of your summer pace. And obviously, Josh, it's obviously, you've got, you're keeping buyers engaged and you're closing sales. So that's obviously critical. So Josh, do you take credit at all for kind of having this kind of prescient
view of what was coming down the road in late January to kind of implement this, or what? So that gets back, and seriously, what was kind of the impetus for that? Was there some goal that you had to integrate that technology? You know, obviously you didn't know about what the pandemic was how it was going to impact your business.
Right. I was not looking at the pandemic or the thought of a pandemic when I was making this decision. And my decision behind bringing on NoviHome was the ability to let our shoppers continue to shop from home, reduce our footprint when it comes to all the paper that we're printing every single day. We're just document after document. And this just kind of eliminated some of that, all those handouts that we're continually handing out. We just looked at it and thought it was a good process, and you know, the Backend tool was really the deal that sealed it for us, so that, you know, it would help our salespeople to know if they're even in the right ballpark, if we're selling them the right floor plan, if they're looking at a casino and we've been showing them a Verona, then we know that they're not really interested in the bigger house, they're interested in the smaller house, and it helps us to guide that conversation when they do come in. You know, you kind of look like a genius when you do that. But as far as bringing on NoviHome when we did, that was just sheer dumb luck.
Okay, thanks for admitting that. I appreciate that. Dan, tell us a little bit about your history with Novi in terms of when you implemented and what was the impetus for that.
Well, you know, like any home builder, we were always looking for a good CRM. We wanted a better way to kind of track from a management level, you know, our agents' activity, get a true measure of traffic. But we never really thought it would be possible to actually look into the buyer's mind, which is something that Novi is the first company and to really do that. So when I had a friend down here that introduced me to Novi, and we looked at it and thought, man, this is revolutionary. It's something that I think all home builders want. They want to know not just what their agents are doing and what kind of traffic they're getting, but they want to know what the buyers really want. You know, traditionally we've had registration cards. You know, people, when they come in the model, fill those out. They'll mark, you know, check off a box, hey, we're looking for homes in this price range or this size and so on. And that's all we've had. And I mean, that's been around for hundreds of years, right?
Seems like it.
So when we looked at Novi and saw that, man, we can actually not only register somebody in a heartbeat using a QR code pretty much, but we can then see what they're looking at. And, you know, it's a little Big Brother-ish where we can actually see what they're doing on the other end. They don't really know that we know what they're looking at. But it's given us true, unbiased feedback from buyers. You know, we can see, hey, they logged in again today. They looked at the amber floor plan and the amethyst, and so, but they're spending more time on the amber. We can see when they logged in, and it's a tool in the hands of our sales agents, so they can say, you know, hey, I met with this guy in the model last week. He just logged in. He's looking at the amber floor plan. I'm going to give him a call right now and see if he's got questions. And, you know, I'm sure in the buyer's mind, they're thinking, wow, this is, you know, this is Providence, because I'm here. I am looking at the amber plan. I have these questions, and here's my sales agent ready to answer my questions. And so I think it, you know, not only is it a major improvement for home builders and understanding the buyer, but it's a huge improvement for the buyer themselves. It improves their experience. People nowadays don't spend a whole lot of time on, you know, people's time is limited. And so if we can be there when they're on topic and answer questions, they're going to have a much better experience, and they won't just kind of block us out with all the other clutter, media clutter that they're experiencing.
Right. No, that's a great point. And so you both gave examples of how you are able to get into the buyer's mind, see what they're doing, and some of the key metrics that you're looking at. Jason, I'm curious from your standpoint, if you can, you know, kind of broaden that experience and say, what are the key metrics that the builders collectively seem to be attracted to using Novi? And what kind of anecdotal data can you give us, or maybe even statistical data, and say that, you know, these metrics really seem to matter to builders, and this app really is able to deliver that?
Sure. It's very interesting how both Josh and Dan had very similar stories, right? And that's just kind of the nature of the beast. That's where we're at right now. When we built Novi, the entire concept of being able to provide real-time quantified data to builders was imperative. I mean, that's what we built the entire company around, especially with the app. And I think Dan and Josh both kind of alluded to this, and I'm going to get to your answer really quickly, Rich. But in this market right now, there's an incredibly low inventory. We all know that, right? And lender rates are historically low. It's like the perfect storm to sell an enormous amount of new construction. And Dan and Josh are probably trying to build homes and acquire land as fast as humanly possible right now. And the reality is, from everything that's being told, that's probably not going to slow down for the next year to 2 years. That's just where we're at as an economy. So when I look at Novi and the data that these guys want, two things need to happen. One, they're probably having more people go through the model homes than has ever happened. Even during the pandemic, whether they're reaching out virtually or they're actually physically showing up, they're having a lot of traffic just because that's where we're at. And so instead of saying, hey, we're going to create this really cool tech piece that's going to increase your sales, they're already having record sales. So what we need to do is make sure that we're providing data for the builders to be able to kind of sift through the ones that are just looking and knocking on the doors, and those that are serious about wanting to purchase, and provide that data to their sales agents to move those potential buyers into the contract stage. And so by being able to do that, the back end, I think that Josh referred to, and Dan talked about it as well, in real time, their sales agents can literally see where their buyers are logging in from, what device they're logging in on, what time of day they're logging in on. And more importantly than that, we're actually be able to provide that seller agent what model they're looking at in which community. And so as we know that, and as those data pieces keep coming in over the course of, you know, a week to 2 weeks, all of a sudden that seller agent is incredibly well armed to be able to have a conversation with, hey, you know, we're selling out in this community. I've noticed that you're super interested in this community. Is there a way that I can help you? Is there questions that I have about this model? And even more importantly, and I don't know if Josh and Dan have brought this into play, but as they start planning out new communities, as they acquire new raw land to build, the data is there of what buyers are liking, what they're interested in. And so now they can start planning out their new developments based on the data that's coming in. And so you see that side of it, right, for the builder side. But on the buyer side, even more importantly, and we've all been there before, what we don't want to do is be sold something that we're not interested in. We don't want somebody to call us and say, buy this, you know, do this. If I'm showing interest and I'm actually actively searching for a product, and they can give me more answers to it, the buying experience just goes through the roof, and that's what the buyers are seeing. The buyers love this opportunity to be able to have all the information with them at all times, where I think Josh or Dan, one of them, mentioned about printing out papers and other things. Buyers have all access to everything wherever they go. We all do. But now it's all in this beautiful, simple app. And on the builder side, they have all the information on the people they're trying to sell to, again, handheld on their handheld devices on a beautiful app. It's really cool, and it's been a really fun experience to see success on both the buyer as well as the builder.
Okay, great. Thank you. And I want to circle back a little bit on a couple of things. One, I think it was Dan that mentioned that it was a little Big Brother-ish, and I think, you know, having that kind of access to an insight into what the buyers are doing. I don't want to say it's a little creepy, but it's kind of interesting. And I'm wondering, Josh and Dan, if you can kind of iterate a little bit how you set that expectation with your buyers. Obviously, you're asking them to log into the app. They give you a certain amount of information so you know who they are and can tie them to your back end and all of that stuff, your CRM and other systems. But how much do you say, look, I'm going to be able to see what you're doing, or do you kind of just keep that to yourself? I'm just curious.
That's our secret.
Okay. 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 Dan, what about?
Yeah, I think people, usually when I introduce it, there's because I actually sit in the model homes too and sell, so I'm a selling sales manager, but and so I've had the opportunity to register people on Novi, and I found my own way of doing that, and having it on my handheld device, and when I register, I may say, hey, let me get you all of our information. I can give you pricing, floor plans, etc. Just give me what's your name, and then I'll type it in on my phone, and then I'll say, okay, you're going to get an invitation on your device, and now you'll be able to download our app. It's called NoviHome. It has all of our information on it. You can take it with you, and so later tonight, when you're sitting down and relaxing, you can kind of go through the floor plans and kind of look at your leisure. And then, if there are certain plans that you're interested in, we'll discuss later, kind of thing. So I don't really tell them that we can see what they're doing, but sometimes in our behaviors, when we're calling, we're seeing that they're looking at certain plans. They'll say, "Oh yeah, I was looking at the Amber floor plan," and I say, "Yeah, I could see that you had interest in that," and that's as far as I usually go with that.
Okay, all right, that's cool. I thought it was just kind of an interesting aspect, and we're so used to just using our phones or our tablets and even our laptops or whatever, just in searching and just in life. And I think that it wouldn't necessarily be surprising or creepy, if you will, if somebody was like, "Hey, I saw you were looking at the Amber plan." I'm like, "Yeah, I was." And okay,
I thought you were looking at it right now.
Right. Yeah, exactly. So let's talk a little bit about results, and I want to bring up a couple of graphics. So I'm going to share my screen here, and we'll start with you, Dan, and the results that you've seen. Maybe you can kind of explain what we're looking at here on the screen, and what it means, and how that impacts your business.
So we have a parade of homes that happens here in St. George, Utah every February. It's a warm weather town, so usually by February things are starting to green up, and a lot of people from out of town come in to go to the parade of homes. They visit 20 to 30 homes every year, new homes that have just been built. We typically have a couple of homes in the parade every year. We signed up with Novi, and I think it was late November. Developed the app, kind of did that as fast as we could to be ready for the parade. So December and January, we got it all, nicely finished and had it ready for the parade of homes. If you look at the lower left of that graphic, it shows, how many people bought tickets for the parade of homes this last February. It was 42,000 or so. So when you have that kind of traffic going through your models, it's more like drinking out of a fire hose. And, in years past, we've always been, we think, man, the parade is awesome. We get a lot of great exposure, but how are we going to register these people? I mean, they're walking in, they're lining up and walking through the home. How do we capture that? And, the Home Builders Association sometimes will give us some information, but for all 42,000 people, we don't know, how many of them liked our product, and how many are true buyers, how many are just there to see decorating tips. So when we implemented NoviHome, we armed the sales agents with QR codes that as they were walking in, they could say, "Hey, welcome to Cole West. This is our new model home here in Desert Color. If you want our floor plans, scan this QR code with your phone, and we'll get you into our app, and you can see everything." And if somebody wasn't really interested, if they were just there to see, the paint color on the cabinets, they wouldn't be interested. Those that actually were like, "Man, this is beautiful. Yeah, I want more information," and they would scan the code. And we registered a ton of people. I actually don't remember the number, but we captured a lot, 100 times more information than we would have if we were just trying to register people on reg cards as they were coming through. And so, our bang for the buck for the parade of homes was sky high. I mean, it was hard for us to realize how much impact that this particular parade had. But in the coming months, I think we could trace back at least 2/3 of our sales to the parade, where in years past, we'd sell homes later in the year, and somebody would bring up, oh yeah, I came through your parade home. That was the only way we really knew that the parade did anything for us. But now, since we had registered those people during the parade in Novi, we could see, hey, these sales came from the parade. We were able to mark when they first saw our stuff, and they were able to take that information home. Whereas the other builders they had walked through, they may have grabbed a couple of floor plans on paper, like we mentioned before, but they didn't have it on their mobile device, and so the shelf life of those floor plans just went down in the garbage, got recycled. So
right.
So
well,
it made a huge difference for us.
And what that, you made an important point, which was giving buyers or people that came through your home during the parade the option of scanning the QR code, and those that like you said, we're kind of just looking at certain design features or decorating features, or just using it as a way to get out on a Saturday. Those aren't qualified buyers. So you really kind of qualified them to a certain extent by them agreeing to take a look at your app and register. So that's an important measure right there, I think.
Right.
So Josh, I'm gonna bring up yours, and I want you to kind of give us your sense of that metric, and what it means to have, in your case, 61% of your buyers registered or people registered on the Novi app. Can you see that?
Yes.
Okay, so I thought that was an interesting stat, and Dan's was 63, which both are really impressive. Was that did that exceed your expectations, meet your expectations, and what does it really mean in terms of your sales process?
It really exceeded them, considering we do also have the parade of homes, and ours was at the end of June, 1st of July this year, as compared to being in April and May. And so when you add in that many homes during a parade of home, or that many buyers during the parade of home, and it's just done with a QR code, you don't realize how many of them are truly interested in buying, because you don't get to spend a whole lot of time when there's a bunch of people walking through all at the same time. And so this qualifies your buyer, and that to us is huge. That is a huge it's an advantage just to know that if they're continuing to look, every one of our buyers that comes into our communities has already shopped us online, or at least 90% of them have. So this is really the second time they're shopping, and they come in to get on the QR code. So that's the second time they shopped. And then when they go inside a NoviHome and start using that app, we can start counting how many times they're continuing to shop and just how interested that buyer is. And you're qualifying your buyer, and then it makes it easier to close them.
Right. That's great. Okay, I'm going to stop sharing that, and we'll get back to talking about the system. And we've talked a lot about the front end. So kind of what you see once you get somebody registered on the app. Let's talk a little bit about the back end, because I know that I've been impressed, frankly, having covered this industry for almost 30 years. About the way that builders embraced this particular type of technology, digital sales tools, whether it's something where they did VR tours through their homes, or they did it through their design centers, or live Facebook tours through their homes. I've heard a lot of different ways that builders have incorporated technology, and it's really not the reputation that this industry has necessarily of being very innovative and embracing technology quickly. But I think you guys are testaments to that. To the fact that builders really did say, now's the time to kind of get into this, and I think have leveraged it quite well. But one of the bugaboos I think that technology has sometimes is that builders will say, well, how does it integrate with the rest of the systems that I have, a CRM in this case, or other tools that I have already in place? I don't want to overhaul that just for this. And Jason, I want to ask you about this too, but maybe Josh, in your experience, how did it work on the back end? And did you have to do any kind of, overhauling of what you had there?
No, it was rather a simple process. You just give them the link, and they do all the back end stuff, that mumbo jumbo. I don't even speak that language, but they all of a sudden, when you register somebody on NoviHome, it's automatically registering them in our Lasso app. We use Lasso for our CRM tool, and Lasso for us has kind of diminished to it's our mass email provider, but it also houses all of our leads. But it is, with the NoviHome app and the ability to put notes right there on your phone when you're talking to people, and anytime you get off the phone, it's so much easier to just, you know, it doesn't matter where you are. If you get the phone call and you're in a supermarket and you're talking about somebody, you can go right in and put the notes in and what you just spoke with them about into the app and have that retainage for going forward. You know, and you can always go back and transcribe them into Lasso also, but it has helped us immensely. And that was, you know, when we were talking earlier, I left out the part that one of the big reasons I did this was because I didn't think we were capturing as many of our registrants when they were first coming in that I wanted to. And I convinced the staff, you know, the sales team, that this would also help qualify our buyers, and it does, and it works. And so they've all bought in, and now every time they come in, it's just simply holding up a placard we had made. Just open your camera and put it right there, and then it's downloaded on your app. So they don't have to fill out any of the information. It's already downloaded in the NoviHome. It's a fantastic process.
Gotcha. Thanks. And Dan, was your experience similar in terms of integrating it with your existing systems?
So we like Josh, we used Lasso, but all of our sales agents didn't really have access to it. It was more of a marketing tool. Like Josh was saying, we put our leads in there and then we send out mass emails and so on to that list. But I think I've sold for different builders, and it does seem like most CRMs that the agents use aren't really CRMs for sales agents or for sales. They're really more of a purchasing tool. You know, that's what construction uses to track options and that kind of thing. At least that's, in my experience, that's what the CRM really is more for purchasing and for construction than it was for the sales team. Even those auto reminders and so on, I don't think most people actually follow those prompts. But what NoviHome became is a true CRM, a true customer relationship management tool. It's different. There's just, it's actually helping make sales rather than just track leads. And I think that's the difference. A salesperson has a true tool to sell a house because they've given the information to their buyers. The buyers express what they're interested in by their actions. The sales agent can see that, and he or she can tailor their presentation and their approach to selling based on the true needs of the buyer. And that's, so many people hold their cards close to their vest in the world today. And so now we can see what those cards are, and we can really help them. And so it's making it easier for salespeople to make sales and for buyers to have a better experience overall. So to me, it's revolutionary. It's just something that if everybody that is listening, if they have a chance to try it out, they're going to see that there's a real benefit. It's monetary. It's not just it's just not a cool thing. It's a true tool.
That's great. That's great. And Jason, I want to talk to you about as you were developing this app. I mean, obviously, as a developer, you understand interoperability and the need that builders would have to make it, fairly seamless into their existing systems. So talk to me about kind of how you did that and how you approached that, and then really
Sure.
the capabilities for Lasso and other CRMs that might be out there.
So let me be very clear here. Not a developer.
Okay. Sorry,
so I don't want to dive too deep into that. Second, I use the same term that Josh does. We're going to call it mumbo jumbo. I'm totally okay with that. So here's the deal. We built NoviHome. I explained this earlier for a specific reason. We wanted to have an unbelievably cool app that enhances the buyer experience. That was first and foremost. Second, we wanted to build an app that totally revolutionized the way that builders were selling to buyers and creating a great relationship and communication tool. We were under no auspice that we were going to go out and create a CRM. That was not the intent. In fact, we wanted to steer clear of that because, like Dan said, and Josh alluded to as well, all the CRMs that are out there, while I think they're incredibly good and serve a wonderful purpose, for the most part, they're very cumbersome. for an individual sales agent to use on most levels. It's hard to look somebody up quickly. It's hard to communicate with somebody, but they need to have that tool. They need to have that database where they're collecting all that information. So as we built NoviHome out, we wanted to make sure that it was, the term that we use is open API. And so as we look at a Lasso, as we look at a Salesforce, or all the many ones that are out there, it doesn't matter what it is, as long as they're open API, and there's very, very few CRM tools that are out there anymore that are not, we can create a completely open bridge through companies like Zapier, where exactly like Dan explained, as well as Josh, once they're registered in NoviHome, to prevent any kind of dual entry, they automatically get dumped back into their CRM, so they have all the data there as well. What we realized with NoviHome, though, was as opposed to having to have sales agents log into Lasso or the CRMs that are out there, right? Again, that cumbersome inputting of the buyer data, we weren't collecting as much of that as we wanted to. And so now, with the simplicity of the app tool with sales agents, which everybody uses, whether it's Instagram, Facebook, or logging into your bank account, everybody's super comfortable with that. So now they can collect that buyer data right at the point of when they meet them for the first time. Nothing's lost in translation. They have access to it on a personal level, as well as the company now has access to it in the company CRM. So we've kind of bridged that gap. I will say this one simple disclaimer. Dan brought up the concept of product management and seeing that through. Again, we have components of that in Novi, but again, it is not that. Again, Novi is built for the buyer process and for the builders to have that unbelievable experience with that buyer. So I don't know, did that answer your question, Rich? Was I clear enough there?
Oh, no, you were. That was great. And I think we're all in agreement that mumbo jumbo is, in fact, the technical term that we want to use here. So that's great. Thank you. Before I forget, and I've got a couple of more questions, but I want to remind the audience that we do want your questions as well. And we have a Q&A function here. In fact, I think there's one that's popped up, and we will get to those in the last 15 or so minutes of the hour. So please ask questions through the Q&A function in Zoom, and we'll answer as many as we can at the end. A couple other questions I wanted to ask of Dan and Josh specifically. And maybe Josh, this is a good place to start with you, because you deal with an over 55 market, and they're not necessarily as tech savvy as maybe younger buyers. How did you experience that, first of all, and second of all, how do you manage that? How do you kind of, if somebody's just hesitant simply because it's a new technology, how do you kind of help them through that?
Well, actually, it's been rather simple, because you use the QR code to sign them up. The majority of them, I mean, our initial launch, we went back in and uploaded anybody that had not bought that was in our Lasso app, and we sent out an email explaining it beforehand and how to use it and so forth. But if you have them in the office when they're first registering with you, and you use the QR code, you can push the button for them, and then it just explodes for them, and then you just show them. I highly preface that when they do that, to go back out of it so they can see which app it is. Once they know what app it is, they're good to go, because the app is simple to use. I mean, it's very simple.
Yeah, you're talking about the icon on their phone, right? You're saying,
yeah, they gotta know what the icon is, the NoviHome icon, because it's not going to say Perfection Builders or whatever your builder name is. It says NoviHome right there, and so that sometimes is confusing to them. But once you overcome that hurdle, it seems to be a pretty simple process for them.
Okay, great. And Dan, what about you? And you live in a resort town, or you work in a resort town. I would imagine most of your buyers are older, more established, boomers or Gen Xers probably. But did you experience any of that? And then how did you manage that?
Well, one of our biggest communities is a 55 plus age targeted community. And so we do deal with a lot of older folks that are purchasing homes, and they are technology averse. And so in those communities, we still do provide paper floor plans, and we do still in all of our communities, because some people just have to touch it and feel it, which we understand and want to provide that for them. But when we show them how the app works, and Like I say, the way I do it, I don't usually ask them if they want the app. I just say, do you want our information? And I'll get it sent to you. Then I don't have to overcome the objection of, well, I don't want to download an app, or I don't want to look on my device at this stuff. It's more like, hey, if you want to have it be extra convenient, let me get it to you. And then I'll once I register them in front of them on my phone, I'll say, now your phone's going to get a link, an invitation. Just click on it down, and I'll like Josh said, I'll just kind of walk the older client through it and show them how the app can appear on their phone, and then show them how easy it is. Now that it's there, let's open it up. You can go to our Brio community, for example. Here's Brio. This is the floor plan we talked about. Later on, you can look at that. Some other cool features, we put a lot of photographs and things that I think people want to see that they usually don't walk out the door with. And an older crowd, they want their folder full of floor plans. But if we can say, hey, there's you want to see pictures of our indoor pool, it's on the app. If you want to see pictures of the tennis courts, because a lot of people will come down and then they'll leave town, and they'll want that same experience, but now they're a few hours away by car. So you can kind of bring them back to the community by having that live on their phone. So
excellent. Yeah, that's great. Thank you. Okay, and the last thing that I want to ask, of all of you, is the balance between technology, this technology, other technologies that you have for sales, other customer-facing technologies you may use, and the in-person experience. Because I think with this pandemic, and even maybe before that to a certain extent, as you both alluded to, a lot of buyers go online first now to see what's out there in a market and kind of do a first pass and maybe come up with a short list of places they want to go visit. And then they engage, a builder or his sales team or her sales team, once they've kind of gone through that first stage. So people are already looking online for homes. And obviously the buyer experience needs to start reflecting that. In this case, it does. But how is there a new balance, if you will, there between the need for hands-on, in-person, and the use of technology like this that seems to really create an experience that is fulfilling? So I'll start with you, Josh. What do you think?
I think the direction that selling is going, they're already shopping online. This is just another medium for them to use. And I would tell you, our business would not be where it's at today after this pandemic that we've gone through or going through if we did not have the NoviHome app, because we wouldn't have the ability to show our floor plans, virtual tours, even links to our financial partners. There's just too many things that are available to do via this digital platform. I don't see selling going back to the old way going forward. I think this is probably the way things are going to go for a while, and I think it's just a new phase in selling homes. You have to have a digital footprint, and it has to be huge.
Okay, great. And Dan, what do you think? What's your experience there?
Yeah, I think we already kind of had that need to have a good digital footprint because of being a resort town. A lot of people, most of our buyers don't live in town. So we've had people looking at our website for a while and going online before they come visit us. But I think the wave of the future is, just like shopping for anything on Amazon, you're gonna, rather than go to a brick and mortar store now, most people are at least going to Amazon and checking a price, or, if they need to touch it and feel it, then they'll go to the store, and they may end up still buying online. And so I think that the touchy-feely, the model home, that part of it, I don't think it will go away. But what you do have is confidence that if they are showing up at your model homes, they're ready to buy and they're serious, especially during this pandemic. They're not just killing time. I think they're there because they've already checked you out. They are interested and they're ready, willing, and able. And so if you can get them everything on a little app on their phones, it'll just kind of push them over the top, and I think it's going to help it with sales overall. So I think that's the way things are going.
That's great. No, I appreciate that. And Jason, I wanted to get your perspective from the standpoint of the 100+ builders that you work with NoviHome, and if those are similar experiences or what you've heard anecdotally from them about that balance.
So after doing this for a really, really long time, I would say this: nothing's going to replace a good sales agent. That's just fact. However, what we've aimed to do, and I think with the landscape as the way it is, and as it is ever changing, even with the pandemic that we're in the midst of right now, being able to augment that sales agent with some of the very best tech that's out there makes that sales agent even that much better, right? And the concept of being able to provide digitally to buyers what they need instantaneously is the number one imperative in being able to sell effectively at this point. We live in a generation now where it's immediate gratification, right? If we think about it, we want it now, whether it be Amazon Prime or whether it be overnight shipping, or I want to see what houses are available in the neighborhood. I want to know right then. Being able to provide builders with this type of tool to be able to showcase their product effectively to buyers, where buyers can access it exactly when they want, where they want, just totally changes the entire sales paradigm in favor of the builder, because now the builder's one leg up. They're providing buyer instant gratification on honestly what's probably going to be the largest single purchase they're ever going to make in the history of their life, which is their home. So I really think that regardless of what's out there, this is how buyers want to buy now. And so we all just need to embrace it, whether it be in the home building industry or the car buying industry or whatever else is out there. This is the direction we're all going.
Right. Okay. That's a great way to kind of wrap it up. And we do have some questions. So we've got a few minutes left. I'm gonna open these up and we'll get to them. So I think these are all for Jason, although certainly all of you can weigh in and I won't filter you. So one question comes in: what markets is NoviHomes in, and how many builders are using the system? I think we've answered the how many. It's 100+, but maybe Jason could shed some light on geographically kind of
Sure.
where those builders are.
We are literally all over the United States. Josh obviously is in Kansas, Dan's in Utah. We have builders from the East Coast to the West Coast to Alaska to Hawaii. We're all over the place. As far as the markets, that's really not probably the right question. I would say the size of the builder is probably a little bit more of an accurate where this benefits the most. While NoviHome absolutely unequivocally can be used with a true custom builder that's doing 5 to 10 to 15 homes a year, there's advantages to using NoviHome. But really, builders that are doing anywhere between 50 to thousands, that's kind of where we lie, where we see the greatest bang for the buck as far as that goes. But we can service any market, even outside the U.S. We're more than capable of that.
Yeah, and it's really not a geographically based app, meaning if I'm a builder and I'm the only builder in my market, regardless of where I am, it's my connection to my prospects. It's not going into a market and say, well, it's not like a search engine, if you will. So it's really
right. And
consumer. Yeah.
And if I can add one thing to that, Rich, I totally agree. And Dan, I'm not sure about Josh, but I know, for instance, Dan, most of the Parade of homes, like you said, are coming from either Las Vegas or Salt Lake, which are 3 to 4 hours away. And when those buyers enter into contracts with Cole West and St. George, they're 3 to 4 hours away. So again, one of the beauties of NoviHome that we really haven't hit on here is even after the buyer goes under contract and the build starts to happen, it's an incredibly effective way to communicate with that buyer during the build process so they don't have to be on site all the time. And that works just like literally going from one side of the city to the other. Instead of having to get in the car to go 40 minutes to see what's going on with my house, I would be able to communicate and see that. So you're right. It has nothing to do with geography. It's a benefit across the board.
Gotcha. Okay, great. And then another question we have is, how does NoviHome get paid for your services? And I think that's just a question of how is the financial setup between a builder and NoviHome?
Well, we like dollar bills.
Okay.
I'm
All
just
right.
kidding. I'm just kidding. You
So
got to
just
bring a little joke,
a
right?
huge, oh, you have to, huge envelope of cash, and that's fine, right? That's what you're
No, we set the company up as a true SaaS model, and for those that don't know what that is, it's a monthly service fee that's based around software. So instead of a lump sum, we base it on a monthly fee. Usually the monthly fee is about $1,000 a month towards the builder. But I do want to bring this up, and I think this is really important. Because of the uniqueness and the disruptive nature of NoviHome, we've been able to partner with some really great companies out there, some lending institutions as well as home security companies that will actually augment that cost for the builder, almost to the point where the builder can enter into a NoviHome deal with literally zero that they would have to pay on a monthly basis, just a small setup fee to get going. So there's a couple of different ways to buy it, but I'm telling you, as far as an ability to get in and use the system, way easy, way easy.
Great. And kind of an offshoot of that, and I want to ask this of Josh and of Dan, is you mentioned that you've set it up recently. And I forget, I'm sorry, but if you alluded to how long that process was from the point that you entered into a contract or a subscription deal with Novi, and then when it was kind of up and running. Just give us a sense of the time frame there.
Well, no, I think we signed our contract in November, late November, early December, and we were up and running by January 26th. The only thing that keeps you from getting it set up speed-wise is how long it takes you to get them the information you want in it. I mean, their team is amazing, and what I love is we're constantly updating plat maps and adding new communities all the time, and they get these things built in, I mean, literally hours. It's fantastic.
Okay. And Dan, what was your experience there? Similar?
Almost exactly date for date. Late December, November, early December to being ready late January. But same thing with Josh. I think the only thing that it probably could have been done faster if we provided our information a little faster. So to me, it seems like you can get up and running probably an average of 2 months if you're slow like we are.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Good. And then the last question we have from the audience is whether the app opens up in a desktop or laptop environment, simply so people could see images larger. And I know that helps me. I do a lot on my phone and my tablet,
Sure.
but honestly, when I get on my computer, it's like, okay, that really helps a lot to see it fully. And maybe Jason, you can address that.
Yeah, so we've built the app. It is app-based, but we can run on almost any platform that's out there. We can open it up on desktops. You can open it up on, literally anything, or mirror it to any kind of screen. As we've built this out, we've had a few clients come to us and ask them for help in sales centers where we put it on, large touch screens that go into their design center, as well as, I mean, it really can be used on any platform at all that's out there. So not an issue at all.
Great. Okay, well, that's all the questions that we have. And I think those are great questions, but I think we addressed a lot of content and a lot of issues that builders hopefully cared about and found valuable in the last hour. And so just to end it, I know that novihome.com, your website, Jason, has a lot of information, including additional testimonials from builders and others who use it, as well as a demo. So we'll encourage those that found this interesting and might want to engage NoviHome to go there. And otherwise, I think we're done. But again, thanks for your time and your insight, all of you. Great stuff. And hopefully builders who are on the fence or wondering what they can do to kind of integrate technology into their sales process, into their sales strategy, you can take something away from this. So again, thank you for your time.